Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We're live inside of the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios. That is Mike Sofka. I am Dan Tortora. The ticker is there. The tight end conversation is upon us. Mike, let's just freak out the internet so much more right now, and let's just run through it really quick because we had a little technical difficulty, and I don't want people to have to bounce back from video to video. So let's run the gamut really quick. I'm going to do it. You can give your thoughts because the NFC West was very clear and present danger for the most part. Arizona Cardinals, pass. Los Angeles Rams, pass. Seattle Seahawks, pass. So the only one coming out of the NFC West is George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers. Is that agreed?
Yeah. George Kittle, number 3 on my redraft rankings. So George Kittle's your guy there in the West. Nobody else is worth consideration.
And in the NFC East, we talked about the Dallas Cowboys. Jason Witten's coming back. I like it that it's going to be a story. I like it that it's going to be something interesting. But for you, you're not sold on it. Jason Witten, he's spent a long time in the NFL, but, we'll see what happens. Philadelphia, we made mention of the fact that Zach Ertz is just amazing. Dallas Goedert was stolen away from the Dallas Cowboys by the Philadelphia Eagles. These teams are always interchanging players and trying to bite each other's kind of situation, so to speak. Philly got Dallas Goedert, so Dallas couldn't go to Dallas. He is the future potentially of Philadelphia, but I don't know when that future is going to happen because we got video game numbers from Zach Ertz, 116 receptions, 156 targets, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. Insane. Evan Engram, we're hoping for some good stuff. If the blockers can keep everything settled enough for Eli Manning to drop back and find Evan Engram, like you said, it's a crisis situation. You go to your running back, you go to your tight end. That's where he can go. He builds a lot of success. Spoiler alert, so does Tom Brady, but nobody talks about that. So Evan Engram is a guy to go out and grab. He's in our top 5. Zach Ertz is arguably our number 1. I think that the Jason Witten story will be interesting. We brought ourselves all the way to the Washington Redskins, and dare I say it, I'm going to ask you about Washington. The last 3 times I did, you froze, and you're frozen again. So I really, for the life of me, I would love to say that this isn't, a conspiracy thing, but Washington is in D.C., and D.C. is where the government is, and we all talk about government things that might happen here and there, and every time I try to ask Mr. Sofka about the Washington, D.C. Redskins, we seem to have an issue. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening here, but we're going to bring him back onto the fray. We're going to make it happen once again. We're going to get him all set and ready to go. So, bear with us, folks. We appreciate your patience with all of this going down here, as every single time that I try to mention the Washington Redskins, Mike freezes. And it's a running joke right now on the show, but it's also very concerning to me. And I guess if you're a fan of the Redskins, Joe Khalil, you need to be a little bit concerned about what's happening here. So let's bring Mike back onto the broadcast. Let's do it once again. Let's see what's going on here. Mike, I'm going to say it really quick because there's a conspiracy in the government, I'm sure of it. Washington Redskins, what do you think?
Yeah, Jordan Reed, not so much. Used to be. Can't roster him, can't draft him. Number 15 on my rankings. Vernon Davis, 13th year in the league, 150 years old. Don't draft him either. Did I get it in on time?
Thank God we finally got through it. I'm not spending any more time on D.C. There is a shadow government, and I don't feel safe. So with that being said, Redskins, So really, we've done the NFC West and the NFC East, and we've only been able to tell you Dallas Goedert's part of the future. Zach Ertz is the guy. He's top dog with Travis Kelce, Evan Engram, and George Kittle. George Kittle and Zach Ertz, great numbers. NFC North, Chicago Bears. If you can name a member of the Chicago Bears that is their tight end, I guess Mike and I will have to give you a little present. So if you can name it before the situation, let me digress here. Or let me not digress. Adam Shaheen, Ben Braunecker, Daniel Brown. Daniel's got a great first name. Love it. So that was what they had. Shaheen was what they were leaning on. But then this thing happened where they went into the Super Bowl team because Super Bowl teams always lose players because they can go get paid, and sometimes you're stupid enough to let them go. Green Bay Packers with Desmond Howard. And in the case of Trey Burton, used to be a quarterback, also plays tight end, puts up some pretty good numbers, has some good trick plays, and was able to trick play Tom Brady better than Tom Brady could trick play anybody. And when it came to that quarterback running out into the flat to catch touchdown pass, Trey Burton is a Chicago Bear, and I know you like Trey Burton, so what do you think about the situation?
I like Trey Burton a lot. I was there in Gainesville when he scored 6 touchdowns in one game. So this is a guy who, you're right, been a quarterback all his life. And a lot of these guys that end up playing quarterback, been through college or even going to college and switching positions like Trey Burton did. Those are the guys you like because there was a reason why they were always quarterback growing up. They were the best athlete on the team. They were the only one that the coach trusted to have the ball all the time. I want to surround myself with those guys on my team. I want the best guys coming up. I want the guys with the most upside. That's what Trey Burton offers, whether it's a Philly special, whether it's a gadget play, or whether it's the ability to make you stop or slow down and think on defense. Okay, Trey Burton's in the game, but now he looks like he's lined up like an H-back. Does that mean he's getting the ball? Does that mean he's going to pass the ball because he used to be a quarterback? Does that mean he's going to do one of these RPO-type plays? What's it going to mean? So depending on how they use him up, I think the sky's the limit with a guy like Trey Burton. He's just creeping into my bottom end, tight end 1 at 12 on my rankings for redraft.
Yeah, and in this situation, I think Trey Burton's a good guy to have on your team as a backup to, if you're able to pull off a situation with, an Evan Engram, really more so a Travis Kelce or a Zach Ertz or a George Kittle to have him as a backup. So, not a bad situation to have. Here's a situation where this guy's not going to be a backup. He's coming in day one, and he's the guy. He was drafted in the top 10 in the 2019 NFL draft just a couple months ago, and that's TJ Hawkinson in Detroit. What do you think about Hawkinson? Jesse James is also there, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hawkinson, if we go back and we look at his numbers and kind of, what he's done, and I want to pick that up really quick here just to give a little feel for TJ Hawkinson. There was a lot of talk about him, a lot of love around him going into the draft. So if you're unfamiliar with Hawkinson, he played 2 seasons at Iowa. He played 10 games in 2017, had 24 receptions for 320 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2018, he was in 13 games, 49 receptions, so he more than doubled it, more than doubled his yards when he more than doubled his receptions with 760 and doubled his touchdowns with 6. So he literally took whatever he had the year before and doubled it. What do you think about TJ Hawkinson with Matt Patricia and a defensive-minded coach in Detroit?
I like it. I think there's some potential there, but you look back to the debacle with Eric Ebron, and then you look at what Eric Ebron was able to do last year going to a different team who actually properly utilized the tight end, and that was Indianapolis, where he went from 4 touchdowns in 17 to 13 touchdowns. Are they going to try to make a concerted effort to get TJ Hawkinson the ball? Why wouldn't you? If the guy's a weapon, why aren't you using him? I can't speak for everything that went on with Eric Ebron, but looking back on it, you got to kind of wonder now. Well, it must have been the play calling. It must have been his utilization. It must have been the fact that they didn't know what they had. How could you not know what you had? You drafted the guy.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how a guy, goes 50% up in his yardage and goes up 4 times as much in touchdowns, 3 times as much in touchdowns. It just looks bad for Detroit. They need to use TJ Hawkinson to his fullest. They need to make sure he's on the field. He's an outstanding athlete. He can score from anywhere on the field. He can catch the ball anywhere on the field. He's a mismatch problem for a lot of people. TJ Hawkinson is worth their time. Now, that being said, he's probably not worth a roster spot until we see something different. Now, if you're in a dynasty league and you're looking to draft a rookie tight end, by all means, he's probably the first one you need to take off the board. I don't think he's worthy of any first-round consideration in that respect, maybe beginning in the second round in a dynasty startup or dynasty rookie draft. But, yeah, redraft, you're not drafting this guy. He's number 23 on my redraft rankings.
Yeah, I mean, for me in this situation, I think Hawkinson is I bring up defensive-minded coach because normally a defensive-minded coach runs the ball and throws to his tight end. So, and obviously Matt Patricia was part of the success of Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez when he was over with the Patriots and seeing that success. So I think Hockenson is somebody to grab and stash. He might be a third option for you, maybe a second option, hoping that things work out. He's going to be the guy, in my opinion. So it's just kind of when that's going to happen and what that's exactly going to look like. But because of a defensive-minded coach, I think because of that, they like to run the ball. They like to condense the clock and, get the ball out to the tight end and just kind of creep in, as much as they can down the field, creep in little by little. So I would look to see that as an opportunity. And I just feel like, it's something that maybe you should pick up. Don't rely on it as your first option. Don't rely on it as necessarily your second option, but he could be. So I think he's not a bad pickup to have and kind of just stash and say, okay, he's my number 2. Let's see what happens. The Green Bay Packers in the NFC North, Jimmy Graham and Mercedes Lewis. Both of these guys have been around the block. Feelings on them with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I'm not concerned about Mercedes Lewis. I think, unfortunately, his time has passed. I think Jimmy Graham still has some red zone catches in him, still has some touchdowns in him, ranking number 16 on my redraft. The guy I'm most excited about is Jay Sternberger. This is a guy, Sternberger, who can come in and make an impact red zone-wise from day one if they choose to do that. I don't see that happening right away, but I do see them integrating him into the offense, much like Philly did with a Zach Ertz and a Dallas Goedert. So I think that it's going to be interesting to watch his development. And again, in a rookie situation, he's a value pick at tight end in a dynasty rookie situation, but I don't think he's going to do anything for you in a redraft format this year.
Yeah, I'm not since Jimmy Graham left Drew Brees, I just haven't been a fan, and I just feel like his numbers haven't shown me anything. Mercedes Lewis, I'm a big fan of his personally because I got to be around him and really got to, from the time that he got into Jacksonville for the most part, all the way through, just a year or two after he had gotten there, I had covered him. So, I really do appreciate him. I appreciate what he's done. I'm happy that a team gave him a shot. I'm really upset that the Jacksonville Jaguars let him go. He had signed a 3-year deal a couple seasons ago. I thought he was going to end his career there. I thought that was kind of his legacy contract. So, it's frustrating and it's upsetting. Funny thing about it is they let him go and they haven't been able to answer the call at tight end since then. So hopefully they'll be able to. But, Green Bay, nothing makes me feel good about their tight end situation. Jimmy Graham's got the namesake, so people keep taking a chance on him. But in Seattle, it didn't work. In Green Bay, it had, I don't feel it. So, if you want to take a chance on him, I'm not going to be the guy to do it. Kyle Rudolph in Minnesota. The guy's up and down. He has some consistency. He's been able to do some good things, but he does also leave you kind of shaking your head sometimes. What do you think about Kyle Rudolph?
Yeah, I like Kyle Rudolph, but this is a weird situation for Minnesota. It looked like they were going to try to ship him. Looked like they were going to try to jettison him with the drafting of Irv Smith out of Alabama, or Irv Smith Jr., I should say. I think that they kind of kissed and made up when they realized that, hey, we can have this 1-2 thing going. And I think it wasn't just – I don't think things were communicated well around that drafting time. I think somebody needed to get on the phone with Kyle Rudolph and say, hey, look, we still want you around. We're going to bring this guy in. We think he's going to make us a better team. But Irv Smith is capable of stepping right in for Kyle Rudolph. Should Kyle Rudolph go down with an injury, I think Irv Smith, again, is an outstanding value pick for you in a rookie dynasty situation. But I think that, Kyle Rudolph is still going to be the guy there, per se. He's number 14, though, on my redraft list. I think he is lost a step there. He does have big hands, can be a red zone threat and a touchdown threat, though, if they're moving the ball well. But, again, there's a lot of things, a lot of questions. And only one ball to go around in Minnesota, and they got some premium tight ends and an outstanding running back who can catch the ball as well.
Yeah, I like Kyle Rudolph, and I think that, there's kind of the catch-22 of he can be helped by the fact that there's so many weapons and there's so many places for guys to have to key in on when they're playing the Vikings. But that could also hurt him because Adam Thielen puts up really good numbers and Stephon Diggs is right behind him. And if Dalvin Cook can stay healthy, then there's that piece to it as well. So, for me, it can help him. It can hurt him. He's not the worst option to have. He's worth a few points. He's not the tight end that's going to get you goose egg, and that's happened before, with some of the guys out there. He might get you 4 points, might get you 9 points. He may have a really good day. He had 4 touchdowns last year. He was targeted 82 times, caught 64 of them for 634 yards. He's not bad to have on your team, but again, it could really help him that there's options, or it could really hurt him that there's options, but he isn't your worst option, and I'd still put him above TJ Hawkinson until TJ shows me what he can do. The Atlanta Falcons, as we step in to the final piece of the NFC for tight ends, and once again, Mike and I, Mike of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com, myself, Dan Tortora of WakeUpCallDT.com, live from the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios. We're talking with you on the tight end situation of every single NFL team. We're starting in the NFC, ending in the AFC, and we thank you for being here with us. The Atlanta Falcons starts off the NFC South, Mike. What is your take on the current situation, which is, you and I said it last year, it's Hooper or bust. And here is Hooper once again, and we're going to unfreeze Mike. I don't know what we're doing here this morning on beautiful Facebook Live, beautiful, wonderful Facebook Live, but we are navigating through the waters of enchantment, and we are getting Mike all set and ready to go here. So let's grab Mike back onto the broadcast, and we will get his thoughts on the NFC South as we get set here with the NFC South conversation and the NFC South, starting with the Atlanta Falcons. You and I had said, Mike, that Austin Hooper is, he had put up or shut up time last year. Where does he stand right now, in your opinion?
Well, he's just at the bottom end of my tight end ones, and then number 10. His yardage per reception is low. His touchdown rate is low. But I think Atlanta's offense is going to be such that they're going to use him more so in the red zone, so in a touchdown-only format. I think you could see a decent amount of touchdowns from him. They're going to have to mix him up. They're going to have to keep him into play. I mean, Devontae Freeman's great. Calvin Ridley's great. Julio Jones is great. And Matty Ice can get them all the ball. So it's just a matter of game plan and how they go. So go will Austin Hooper. But I think there's a tremendous upside here. I've liked Austin Hooper. We talked about him years ago when a lot of people didn't know who this cat was. And Sure enough, he's a top 10 tight end now. And the top 10 tight end you can count on, I think. If you don't get one of those top 3 or 4, I'm confident with getting him later on in my draft.
His numbers are eerily similar to who we just discussed. Austin Hooper's numbers are eerily similar to Kyle Rudolph. The amount of targets that he has, the amount of receptions, which he has a few more, and I think he had 7 more last season, and the amount of targets was 6 more, and they had the same amount of touchdowns with 4. So basically, this is how I look at it. If you don't get Hooper, get Rudolph. If you don't get Rudolph, get Hooper. I mean, they're kind of, to me, interchangeable at this point. 2 good options, not your best option, but not your worst option. Kind of middle of the road right now with the opportunity to be a little bit better. I have them above average. They're above the equator line, obviously, but I find them interchangeable. And I think that's a good thing, because I think if you don't get one, you could get the other. Carolina has an interesting tight end situation because they're running a 2 tight end set that has Chris Manhertz, Jason Vanderlaan, as well as Ian Thomas and Greg Olsen. Obviously, Greg Olsen's supposed to be the guy. He's been hurt in recent history more often than we want to see for anybody. We're hoping he stays healthy. Ian Thomas was brought in. What do you think about Carolina?
Yeah, Greg Olsen's, going to be in his waning years here. He didn't look like the guy that was slowing down at all until the injuries, overcame him here with the foot and the ankle. This is a guy who's old. He's in his 30s. I think he's 34, 35. This is a guy who, when he was on top of the game, he was the number 1 receiver for Carolina for quite a few years. Game in, game out, year in, year out. He got the number 1 target. He got the lion's share of everything. And he did well with it. He performed well. I'm not sure you can count on him for that same level of performance. This is his waning years. They're trying to get Ian Thomas more into the fold here. They became the first tight end, Greg Olsen did, to reach 1,000 yards in 3 consecutive seasons. He's always been a top 10 guy. I just don't think you can count on him right now. He's number 21 on my rankings right now, and Ian Thomas is not too far behind him in the 20s as well at 27. So I think the emergence of a DJ Moore, the passing ability of Cam Newton to get the ball out to a guy like a running back that they have in Christian McCaffrey. You're going to see them a lot more yardage, short gaining type situations, bringing in a Jordan Scarlett and a Holyfield to pick up some much needed yards. I think the complexion of this team is going to change because they realize Cam isn't so much Cam anymore, and Greg Olsen isn't so much Greg Olsen anymore. They still have something in the tank.
Yeah.
We're talking about winning a fantasy championship here. You're probably not going to do it with these guys, Greg Olsen or Ian Thomas, as your first option at tight end.
No, the funny thing about Greg Olsen is he only had 27 receptions last year, but he had 4 touchdowns. So he matched Austin Hooper. He matched Kyle Rudolph in end zone touchdowns. And I think that for me, we know that he's still a threat, and his numbers are still there. Ian Thomas, 2 touchdowns on 36 catches. I'm with you. I think they got to figure out what's going to work there. DJ Moore, obviously Christian McCaffrey, I think can, be a 1,000-yard guy, and Cam Newton and where he's going to set up and whatnot. But, I think if we're talking about Will Grier under center at quarterback, then maybe Ian Thomas feels better and maybe Greg Olsen feels a little bit better. But Olsen's got to stay healthy. So taking a chance if Olsen's on the line and Rudolph's on the line and Hooper's on the line, I want to draft Greg Olsen. I really do because, that history. But at the same time, I'm going to lean more on the side of Austin Hooper of those 3. So, I hope he stays healthy. I hope he has, opportunity. Ian Thomas is out there too. But, yeah, I think if you put them both together, they still don't maybe make the best tight end situation that I would be comfortable with. So if they're sitting out there, maybe I pick them up. But it's a situation that I really kind of don't want to have to deal with if I don't have to. Jared Cook is a New Orleans Saint now. I said last year he was the best receiver for the Oakland Raiders at tight end because we weren't really seeing much of Derek Carr and Amari Cooper, and they didn't have Crabtree anymore. So Jared Cook is now with arguably one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the nation to some people. What do you think about Jared Cook? I mean, Josh Hill has not been able to get it done. He's still on the team. Everybody else is gone that's tried to be there. Jared Cook's the guy now. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be long-lived. He's getting a little long in the tooth there. But, at the same time, this is a guy who is a touchdown machine. This is a guy who can carry a team on his back from the receiver position. And the receiver position he plays is tight end. So this is a guy who, you look back more. Remember Dallas Clark back in the days with the Colts?
Yeah.
He was a tight end. Well, he was more like a split end. He was about 5'4", about 80 pounds.
Yeah.
This is not Jared Cook. Jared Cook's a bigger guy, but Jared Cook has that knack for getting open. Jared Cook has that knack for finding the seam. Jared Cook has that knack for finding the end zone. And I'm okay with that if I'm a quarterback. I'm rest assured that I can get the ball to this guy, and he's going to make magic happen. And that's right on time with Drew Brees. You're right. Josh Hill hasn't developed. Dan Arnold looks like it's pretty short for him. Looks like he might not be the guy yet. But, there's still time. So, I think Jared Cook's your guy. He's worthy of a top 10 pick. He's number 8 on my rankings in redraft.
Yeah, and for me, I really like Jared Cook. I like his numbers last year. I feel like he somewhat got lost in the craziness of Oakland, but he had just shy of 900 yards receiving. He had 896. He had 6 touchdowns. He had 68 receptions, and he was targeted over 100 times. So, I think that, if those are his numbers away from Drew Brees, what can he be with Drew Brees? And darn it all, Drew Brees hasn't had his tight end since Jimmy Graham. Like, he hasn't had his guy that he could throw to in the end zone and trust since Jimmy Graham. And I think he's yearning for that. And I think, before we see Drew Brees hang it up, which I never want to see, but, when that day comes, I think he wants to have that. I think it's part of one of the key ingredients of his game is that he's one of those quarterbacks that makes tight ends better. He's a tight end whisperer. And I think that having Jared Cook is kind of a coup here. I mean, the guy's 32 years old. He was born a couple years after me, but, he has an opportunity to really do something special here. His numbers are good right now later on in his career. And I like the fact that he's with Brees. And honestly, I'm going to steal him away if nobody picks him up. I mean, I have no trouble picking up Jared Cook. I think that he did good numbers in a situation I didn't like. So now I like the situation, which, makes me hopeful that he'll do better numbers. The final team in the NFC we're going to deal with is the NFC South, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're still trying to figure this out. O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate. When you draft Howard, Brate gets the catch. Then Brate doesn't get the touchdown because it goes to Howard. One of them gets injured at some point during the year, so the other guy gets it, but then the other guy comes back, and it never feels right either way. Brate is the guy that you didn't expect. O.J. Howard is the guy that came in with some hype. What are your thoughts on this? There's a 2 tight end situation in Tampa, so maybe they'll both be out there. So maybe they'll bump into each other and both catch the ball for a significant moment, and then it goes to somebody else, and we're all collectively waiting on Wall Street, wondering if the stock's going up or down for who. I like them both, and this is the hard part, Mike, is that we're talking about 2 guys that are worth drafting, but you don't want to kick yourself if you draft the wrong one.
Yeah, and that's why it's important that, you're able to find some people that have some information that's good information, find some people who are on the inside that can help you make these decisions. And this is what we try to do here. And I'm not patting myself on the back by any means, but at the same time, I think that we kind of know a little bit about what we're talking about here. I have an inside track at Tampa, and I think O.J. Howard is worthy of being a top 5 tight end. O.J. Howard needed a little time to develop, needed time to gel. Don't forget, Jameis and Fitzpatrick were in and out of there, and a lot of times they were just a bad team, Tampa, and they were having to catch up. Now, throwing the ball is good. That's good for the tight end. But a lot of times they had to throw the ball in these deep arcing throws from Fitzmagic to Deshaun Jackson or Mike Evans or Adam Humphries to get back in the game because they were down by 3-4 scores. This is not the case now. Tampa's going to be a little bit improved on the defense, a little bit improved on the defensive front. I think they're going to be able to pressure the quarterback, and I think that's going to help the offense because the offense is going to be able to play more ball control. They say Ronald Jones is coming around. And I look for O.J. Howard to have a better year than Cameron Brate and a better year than most other tight ends. I don't think that 13, 14 touchdowns is added a question for an O.J. Howard, even though Cameron Brate is still there. It's O.J. Howard time in Tampa. Take him as your top 5 tight end this year in redraft.
Yeah, and this is a hard thing is, I chose O.J. Howard over Cameron Brate in the past, and I want to believe that it's going to work out, but it's kind of just, I feel like you almost have to handcuff the 2 together, but I don't want to waste 2 picks on it. It's a tough situation. I mean, granted, it's better than Arizona, it's better than Seattle, it's better than Los Angeles Rams, it's better than the Cowboys and this, and the Skins and whatnot, but it's still a situation where, it's like if Jameis Winston goes out and gets suspended, what's going to happen? If Jameis Winston gets hurt, what's going to happen? Because every quarterback has their guy. And I tell people this all the time, and if you don't pay attention, you've been hurt in fantasy. Every quarterback has their guy. Nick Foles has different guys than what Carson Wentz had. Look at the numbers. Sometimes you go here, sometimes you go there. It's just the reality of the situation. So, for me, I want to say O.J. Howard, but the jury's still out for me. And if I could stay away from the situation, I will. Getting into the AFC as we finished off the NFC, the other half of our tight end conversation here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios, 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, New York. Right over there is Mike Sofka of HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. Right here is Dan Tortora of Wake Up Call, DT.com. We're with you every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Minimally, but we underpromise and overdeliver. Mike brought that up. It's important to do, but it's important to be on the right side of it. Underpromise, overdeliver. And to the people out there that think that you don't have to get paid to do your job, guess what? That's an annoying moment of the week, and that's a Wednesday annoying moment of the week. You don't have to get paid to do your job. Look at all these things I expected of you. You didn't do any of these things that you said you were going to do for this free paycheck. What are people nuts? They're absolutely crazy. And don't forget, folks, I'm a broadcaster for a living. So when you screw over a broadcaster, the verbiage comes out. So I'm getting feisty this morning, Mr. Sofka. I'm in it to win it. You know how it is. I respect me, you respect me, and you get what you tell people you are worth And if you are worth nothing, and that's how you treat yourself, if you work for free, then you're going to work for free for the rest of your life. Mike and I are classy broads, and we are expensive. So with that being said, let's get into the AFC. I just had to feel it for a moment. Felt so good. Little venting, little moment, little therapeutic.
However, I do want to clarify, this is free. This is all free here. We're not talking about this.
Right, we're not talking about this.
Something else behind the scenes here.
Yeah.
The man behind the green curtain, nothing to see back there.
Right, we're talking about the Wizard of Oz. We're not talking about, our fantasy is free because we love and appreciate you, and we want you to get the most that you can get out of it. Our leagues are free as well. The Florida League happens in Central Florida every single year, and I will be down there drafting with them. If you would like to be a part of the leagues here in Central New York, they're exclusively at the Wildcat Sports Pub. All of our leagues, the Dream Chasers League, Q's Contenders, Captains on Call, and Gridiron Gurus are all located at the Wildcat Sports Pub. That's where we draft. That's where we are every week. That's where we have our ceremony at the end, and you are more than welcome to join those leagues by sending an email to dtstays@gmail.com. That's dtstays@gmail.com. Let's jump into the AFC. We got 16 teams to run through. The Denver Broncos' number one option, just like Detroit, is also a rookie. If you look at the Denver Broncos, Jake Butt, Troy Fumagala, Tamarick Hemingway, and that's it. So Noah Fant's going to be your guy in Denver. And Noah Fant, if we look at his numbers, he had 494 yards in 2017 on 30 catches, and he had 11 touchdowns. Last season, he had 39 catches, 519 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He comes from Iowa. People seem to like him. And it's time for the Denver Broncos to have some relevancy at tight end again, because it has been far too quiet for far too long.
Yeah, well, there's only one thing that's more unusual than a tight end from one school getting drafted in the first round of the NFL. That's to have 2 tight ends come out of that school and get drafted in a Noah Fant and a TJ Hawkinson. Now, TJ Hawkinson is more the all-around tight end. Well, Noah Fant's like better athlete. He's that receiving threat. He's more like the Dallas Clark guy. But at the same time, he can be on the field. He can block a little bit too. And that's the key, staying on the field, getting on the field. Because if you can't block, it's like a running back. If you can't pass block, you're not good half the time, or at least half the time.
Yeah.
These guys have to block a little too, even when they're the receiving tight end. There's a lot of teams that have their blocking tight end and their receiving tight end. But make no mistake about it, you're absolutely right. Noah Fant is the guy you're going to want here. I don't think he's going to surprise anybody right off the bat. I don't think he's going to be a top tight end right off the bat. But look back at what Joe Flacco was doing. I know it's a new system. Look what he's done in a relationship he's built with the tight ends in Baltimore. They spread the ball around a lot. Now, that's because they didn't have any receivers. I get it. But maybe, just maybe, because Flacco's getting up there in age, Noah Fant could surprise some people. So I wouldn't mind taking a chance on him late. I got him right now as the number 25 tight end on my redraft rankings. In a dynasty rookie draft, though, this is another guy. He's going to be overdrafted, but if you can snag him in those middle rounds, by all means.
And I have yet another play on words. If he plays well, then he'll be fantastic. That's all I have to say about it. But I am excited.
I like it.
Okay. And I like it. I'm with it. Denver's got to throw to somebody. Flacco's got to throw to somebody. I can't say that Flacco throws to his tight ends a lot because Joe Flacco hasn't really had any tight end to lean on, and they've all gotten hurt when he was in Baltimore. So this will be something new for him with Noah Fant. But, the hope is that he can get something done here. The hope is that, this draft pick is going to pan out. This is a guy that I would take a chance on as my number 2 guy. I'd grab him and stash him and just see how he does the first few weeks. Get a little feel out for him, depending on who he's going up against. But I feel better about him than I feel about other situations. And I trust my gut in fantasy because all the research that Mike and I do and all the games we watch and all the statistics we look at, your gut is something you can never go against because 99.9% of the time it's telling you the right thing to do. Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think we have to spend a lot of time on this, but not for the reasons of the NFC West and the NFC East. It's Travis Kelce. It's pretty clear. If you don't get Ertz, you get Kelce. If you don't get Kelce, you get Ertz. It's pretty out there, but I guess we have to say it again. and reminds you that Kareem Hunt's not there, and Jesus knows about Tyreek Hill. So Travis Kelce, Mike, you can say what you want to say, but I'm sure it's pretty self-explanatory. It should be.
Yeah, he's the number one guy. I think Zach Ertz is the 1A or the number 2 in the league, but definitely Travis Kelce, and not just for the points that you made, with the lack of people around him and the lack of name recognition receivers and running backs in the fold there. But Andy Reid does this with this system. He's able to get the most out of certain players, and he got the most out of Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce is a guy who was the top tight end before the diminishing of all these talents around him. So without a doubt, Travis Kelce's the number 1 tight end. Without a doubt, he's going to get overdrafted like Gronk used to. And I don't know if he's worthy of a first or second round pick. But you know what? It depends on your situation. I think Travis Kelce should definitely be the first tight end off the board in any draft, though.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce was my number 1 last year with Rob Gronkowski playing. So for me, it's pretty clear. I love Ertz's numbers, but Travis Kelce has got some pretty ones as well. And just to let you all know what those numbers exactly are to warrant a number 1, 103 receptions, 1,336 yards, and 10 touchdowns last season. It feels so good. It really does. Now, Kareem Hunt was a part, and Tyreek Hill was a part. So, what's it going to be without that? We're left to see. But I would like to think that Pat Mahomes already knows he can trust him, so he'll go in his direction. You just got to hope that Travis Kelce is going to be able to get away from this and make sure that he establishes himself open because of the fact that there's not these other speedy guys running around the field necessarily if Tyreek Hill is going to be suspended or not on the team as well. The Los Angeles but I really like Travis Kelce, so let me make that clear. The Los Angeles Chargers say that they're the team to beat in the NFL. Their tight ends are Virgil Green, Hunter Henry, Sean Culkin, and Vince Mail. Thoughts on this? Hunter Henry was supposed to be the savior. He was supposed to be after Antonio Gates comes Hunter Henry, and it's a seamless change. It's like Robinson to Duncan, but that didn't happen because Henry got hurt. Virgil Green used to be in Denver and doesn't seem like a numbers guy. Seems more like, a filler spot or a guy that's there like a Vernon Davis to maybe catch some passes when he needs to, but to block for you. What's your take on the Chargers?
Yeah, I really like Hunter Henry. And again, this is a guy we talked about in years past, before he splashed on the scene here. Don't forget, in 16 and 17, he averaged a lot of catches. He had 12 touchdowns on 115 receptions, which is a stronger rate of touchdowns versus receptions than Kelce, Ertz, or Gronk. So he's a touchdown machine in that respect. Touchdown only league. This may be one of the top tight ends, top 2 tight ends you can consider taking off the board. But Hunter Henry is going to continue to get yards. He's going to get looks. He's going to get targets. So PPR-wise or not, it doesn't really matter. Hunter Henry's the guy. It's a shame he tore his ACL last year, but luckily he did it in OTAs in May, so it gives him enough time. And just a flashback, it was funny because, I talked to Antonio Gates, and the Chargers had talked him into retiring. He retired. Then in May, the ACL tear, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, Antonio, why don't you come back?" Yeah. So and Antonio lumbered, and he looked like he was just there. So I don't anticipate anybody else taking any playing time from Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, the number 7 guy on my redraft, is top 3 upside.
Yeah, I like Hunter Henry. I do. I just, my thing is, my concern is him staying healthy. He's that guy I get really excited to have on my team, and then, you watch that ticker on the bottom, and you're like, are you kidding me right now? So, we didn't see him at all last season, and he had 13 games that he started out of 14 games played in 2017, and he had 45 receptions, 579 yards, 4 touchdowns. The year before that, he had 8 touchdowns. I like Hunter Henry. He is worthy of being a number 1 if he's healthy, but he's a number 1, or if he's a number 2 for me until he proves that he can be. The Oakland Raiders, they don't have Jared Cook anymore. They have Darren Waller. They have Luke Wilson. They have Foster Moreau. And they have Derek Carrier. Raise your hand if you thought that those people worked at your local grocery store. I just wanted to I like when people listen on the show, and I always say, I'm like, when people are listening on MixLR on wakeupcalldt.com to our internet streaming radio, I always say, raise your hand if this happens. And I know that people are raising their hands, even though I can't see it. And it makes me so happy because it's just one of those things that humans do. It's like, raise your hand if you like pizza and you're in a room where nobody could see you and you're like, oh my God, yeah. So, I mean, it's just how it is. The Oakland Raiders, they don't have Jared Cook, and I don't feel good about anything else they have. And I'm still very questionable about the behaviors of John Gruden right now with what he's doing with the makeup of this team. But I guess we'll see if it's worth $10 million a year. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Well, this is where we come to John Gruden and his tricks and his pulling a rabbit out of a hat here. Look, they brought in Foster Moreau, and he was underutilized in the SEC at LSU. He's a much better receiver than, they just didn't give him the ball, and he's shown that so far. But Darren Waller's the guy. Darren Waller's the guy John Gruden is more or less penciled in. Thinks he's, quote, the best kept secret in the NFL. So look for Darren Waller to get the initial starts. Luke Wilson might get some looks as well. I don't think you can roster any of these guys right now until you really know what's going on. At the same time, maybe you have to take a guy. Maybe you're in a situation where, hey, I'm the guy I just drafted. We just left our draft. He tore a hamstring or something. These are some guys that have upside that you want to look at. But I think in order of contention, it's Darren Waller, Foster Moreau, and Luke Wilson.
And for me, on my side of it, I just I don't like it. I don't like the situation in Oakland. I'm staying away from it. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. I'm not going near it. So I'm going to make it very clear and simple in that respect. The AFC East, Tyler Kroft is now a Buffalo Bill, which means if Tyler Eifert gets injured in Cincinnati, there's nobody to back him up because the Tyler squared situation no longer exists. They have Tyler Kroft. They got a bunch of other guys besides that. What is your thought on the Bills situation?
Yeah, I don't like the Bills situation at all here. However, there's one guy that I like is a Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is your rookie guy. He's your guy that's going to come in and have the upside. He's from Ole Miss and that high-flying attack. You look at some of these guys that come out of Ole Miss in that passing situation, no wonder they had infractions. They had some talented athletes. A conglomeration of athletes this strong should be illegal. And you saw the character of those guys when you look at the guy who was a leader of that team back in the day, and Chad Kelly, having the world at his fingertips and throwing it all away in a drunken stupor on a Halloween several years ago. But, and Google all that information if you don't know what I'm talking about there. We don't have enough time here. But, yeah, I think Dawson Knox might be the surprise guy here. I like what they're doing with bringing in Tyler Kroft. I think he's going to be the guy, or they're going to try to make him the guy. I just don't see enough here to warrant rostering or drafting any of these guys in a regular redraft situation.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tyler Kroft was a good backup. He was a good stand-in, somebody that came in. I think he's a low-end 2, high-end 3 at tight end because he's got Josh Allen, who I do like at quarterback with the Buffalo Bills. But, I mean, that's as high as I would put Kroft at this point. The Miami Dolphins, they have Dwayne Allen, who used to be a Patriot and used to be a Colts. They have Mike Gesicki, who, as a rookie we thought might do some things. Nick O'Leary, who I covered at Florida State. And then Durham Smith. What are your thoughts on Miami? Josh Rosen is their quarterback now. He's got a big question mark over his head as to what he's going to be. What do you think about the tight end situation?
Well, Gesicki, he was kind of invisible that season. And, I'm hoping that with Josh Rosen there that'll change things. Josh Rosen still has a lot to prove, and Gesicki still has a lot to prove. So hopefully this is a thing where they can get on the field together, get on the same page. In a dynasty situation, in a startup, he's the 19th ranked. I'm talking about Gesicki, ranked tight end. And in a redraft situation, he's in the mid to high 20s. I'm not sure if you can use him. But, again, that's a wait-and-see thing. This is going to develop, and as preseason unfolds, we may see some things, we may not. But there may be some things in camp which may lead us to believe that that's going to be a situation they can trust on. Don't forget, Miami's not a team that can, run the ball down your throat. I mean, a lot of people can't name a running back on their roster. They will be later, and he's one of my guys to watch out for in the near future. Look out for that to come from the website. See, you got a little teaser there. You got to throw something like that out there every once in a while. But we will have a nice piece on a running back out of Miami here soon. But yeah, I can't roster anybody here.
Yeah, no, I don't feel good about this situation either. I used to be a Dwayne Allen fan when he was with the Colts, but I'm just not feeling it right now in Gesicki, and I don't see it in Miami. Miami's been a question. They've been rebuilding since they let go of Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas. That was a really long time ago. So I just, and unfortunately, that's the situation that they're in, and I don't feel good about it. The New England Patriots, they have another guy that I covered when he was in college now. It's not Rob Gronkowski. It's FSU's Ryan Izzo, who was drafted late in his draft, and specifically Ryan Izzo was drafted in the 7th round, pick number 250 by New England. So you can imagine that he'll be an elite tight end because New England drafted him at the end of the draft. So there's Ryan Izzo, there's Matt Lacoste, and Andrew Beck. Thoughts on this? Izzo's really never had an opportunity in the NFL to be the showcase number one guy, but he's in the offense of Bill Belichick with Tom Brady. So I can imagine that I'm going to draft Ryan Izzo if nobody else is, because it's just simple math at that point.
Yeah, the guy's going to be Ben Watson. He's an old man. They talked him into coming out of retirement, but Ben Watson's going to be suspended the first 4 games of the season, so you want to plan ahead to that. Ben Watson's going to be a touchdown guy. He's going to be the red zone threat there. I think they're going to change up the way they're running their offense in New England. They're going to have to until a Matt Lacoste makes a name for himself, a Stephen Anderson, or an Izzo can make something happen. I don't think any one of these guys warrants rostering. Ben Watson, by the time you factor in the 4 suspended games in a bye week, you're missing him 5 out of 13 weeks. That's not what I want to do with a 30-some-odd-year-old tight end who's on the borderline of making my roster. So I'm just going to stay away from this whole situation. Unless something develops a little further down the road here preseason, I'm going to stay away from the New England tight ends right now.
Yeah, like I said, Izzo might be at the end of my draft just because he's a Patriot and because I think he's more talented than the NFL maybe knows right now because we haven't really seen him that much. So I like him. And I may take a flyer on him. He's not my number one guy, but he's one of my sleepers, potentially of the draft. He's one of the ones that I would feel good about getting if I got him late and I need to just fill a spot. The Jets tight end situation. Chris Herndon, Eric Tomlinson, Daniel Brown, another Daniel Brown, and Trayvon Wesco. Chris Herndon, most recently here, he was drafted in the 4th round, 107 overall, out of Miami in the 2018 draft. And as we look at his numbers, he was targeted 56 times, had 39 catches, 502 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Not too shabby on a team where Sam Darnold was obviously going through some learning curves that I felt were going to be like the Peyton Manning year number 1 type of feel to it. What are your thoughts on Chris Herndon? Because I feel like that's really their option at tight end.
Yeah, it is. For as much talk as I've heard around the streets about a Trevin Wesco, this is guy's more an H-back. You're going to see him in the backfield more so blocking for a Le'Veon Bell. But don't forget Chris Herndon out of Miami. He looked like he was making some headway, and then we get a possible suspension incident here with a DUI or DWI involving a car accident, which is bad. He's facing at least a 2-game suspension. So you gotta kind of play that into the rankings as well. I think Chris Herndon could be productive. He's the number 17 tight end on my redraft rankings. Trevin Wesco, Eric Tomlinson, Daniel Brown, somebody's going to have to step up while Chris Herndon's out. But I don't think the Jets are going to worry about it. I think they're just going to give the ball to Le'Veon Bell. And when they're done doing that, they're going to throw the ball to Le'Veon Bell. And then when they're done with that, maybe they'll throw it to Quincy Enunwa or Robbie Anderson. But they're probably going to give it to Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is probably going to get 400 touches and targets this year. And that's going to impact your tight ends from the Jets as well. But if I had to go with one, I'd go with Chris Herndon, and he's number 17 on my ranking.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I like Chris Herndon a bit here, but again, there's a lot of other situations that I like more. So, Herndon is a number 2 to me. He's somebody that's going to be filling a spot on my roster as a backup tight end. He's going to be a guy I play when my main guy is off that week. So, I mean, that's really what I look at for Herndon, at least for now. And to finish off the AFC side of things here as we continue the tight end conversation with Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com, myself, Dan Tortora of WakeUpCallDT.com. You can go back and watch all our videos. We have videos on every single running back situation in the NFL, every single quarterback situation, every single wide receiver situation, and now every single tight end situation. So you can literally use our videos as a guide map to bring you to what you need for your draft. I mean, you can use our videos and go back to them. And because we talk about every position and because we talk about multiple players and depth charts and all that stuff, you can go and watch our wide receiver shows. And while you're drafting, you can have us up on there, archived, watching it on wakeupcalldt.com or on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt or on Facebook at wakeupcalldt. You can go back and watch these videos and listen to them. You can put the buds in and not even watch it, just listen while, your commissioner's doing the draft board and whatnot, and you're just nodding your head, and you're trying to figure things out. And you can listen into our shows and go, okay, they talked about 4 different wide receivers in Baltimore. I need one more guy. I can go get him. So, and Mike puts it on paper on his website, and I will too. So there's going to be so many different ways for you to interact with us that this video is not just a live video now. This is like a time capsule video that you can go back and say, wow, I don't know anybody else that talked about 47 tight ends, and there's only 30 that are going to go off the board. I got an extra 17 to sift through. Thanks to these guys, I can help myself, and it was free. So make sure that you take advantage of being able to listen and being able to watch and really us just diving deeper than the status quo. And when you buy a book and there's only 16 ranked tight ends. Mark Andrews, Hayden Hurst, Nick Boyle, Nick Kaiser. Thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens as we start off the AFC North. Andrews and Hurst were both drafted in 2018. So obviously there was this build toward the future. There was this tight end and get your running backs and just build it around this speed and build it around blocking and build it around running the ball. What are your thoughts on Hurst and Andrews? Because to me, those are the guys that are going to be at the top of this thing.
Well, it's kind of ironic because Hurst was the guy that had all the steam coming out of South Carolina. He was the guy that went in the first round. Mark Andrews is kind of an afterthought. They show up. Hurst has a foot injury. Mark Andrews gets on the field and takes off, develops an excellent chemistry with Lamar Jackson. Now, Baltimore is going to have this run-first offense, but that's going to not impede the tight end progress. That's going to enhance it. They also have a lot of young wide receivers. That's going to enhance it as well. Baltimore runs a lot of multiple tight end sets. That's going to enhance things as well. And if you missed it, it was a good piece written by one of our contributing guests. Alex Williams wrote a piece on our site, Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com, contributing guest blog, wrote an excellent piece on various formations that Baltimore is going to be using as well. And that's going to involve these multiple sets. Now, they have 3 tight ends that are going to be on the field. You're going to see these guys all the time. Nick Boyle's going to be the blocker. Hayden Hurst was the guy who came in with all the steam, but Mark Andrews has that rapport now with Lamar Jackson. Well, here's what's going to happen. Everybody's going to focus on Mark Andrews, and Hayden Hurst is going to end up being the guy by the end of the year. You may have heard it here first, but he's going to be the guy, just not right now. Unfortunately, Mark Andrews only warrants the 19th spot on my redraft ranking, and Hayden Hurst is in the 20s. While I have a lot of faith in that happening, what I said about Hurst taking over, it's probably not going to see much of a move on that until later in the year. And I'm not sure you want to warrant a draft pick there, but you may watch the waiver wire for him. But if you saw him play college football, Hayden Hurst that is, you saw an explosive player who you were excited to see get the ball because you weren't quite sure what this cat was going to do next. Hayden Hurst is going to be the guy for years to come. Mark Andrews is your guy right now, and Nick Boyle is the blocking tight end in Baltimore.
Yeah, and to me, Mark Andrews put up some good numbers, over 500 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns last year. I do think it's going to be a mixed bag. I do think it's going to go back and forth. I think it's going to be a little bit of Hurst, a little bit of Andrews. I don't think maybe it'll be as prolific as Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard, but I do think it's going to be there, and maybe it does line up with that. So I think you can make – this is a situation where I think maybe there's going to be 4 touchdowns with one guy, 3 touchdowns with the other. I don't think you can go wrong with either one, but they're both still backups to me at this point. So, Baltimore, again, they are running a special system. It is going to be unique to me, in my opinion, with Lamar Jackson than to any of the other 31 teams in the NFL. I think that it'll get them to at least a 7-9 record. I don't know if it's going to be pretty all the time, but I am excited to see it. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I'm one of those guys that lives in that world of I think it's going to work. So, and I think the AFC North is open right now. So I think it goes through Cleveland and Pittsburgh, but I think that Baltimore is going to do something special.
Quick correction there. Not Alex Williams, Alex Fleming. Alex Fleming is the gentleman who put up that contributing guest blog on the site. You can catch that on our Facebook page at Hall of Fame Fantasy Football, or just go to the website, halloffamefantasyfootball.com, the contributing guest blog. Sorry about that.
No, absolutely fine, and definitely appreciate giving a shout out here to somebody contributing to the bigger picture of what Mike and I are doing with fantasy. So with Baltimore, again, just to simplify, I like Hurst, I like Andrews, not enough to really warrant putting them out there and feeling tremendous about either one. But again, it's a situation of, do I have them above Kyle Rudolph? No, but could they be? Potentially. I just look at it and things like, here's my Kelsey and my Ertz, and then my Hooper is somewhere in this. Then George Kittle, and then my Hooper and Kyle Rudolph, and then I'm looking at some other pieces, and then ultimately I'm looking at Andrews and Hurst as it stands right now. And I'll put my rankers up on my site too, coming up here in the not-too-distant future, and those will be free as well. The Cincinnati Bengals, Tyler Eifert, he gets hurt a lot. When he doesn't, he's pretty good. Andy Dalton, everybody knows that's listening to the show. I'm over it. I'm over the A.J. Green thing. I think we need to build toward the future. I'm hoping that Ryan Finley gets a shot to be the starting quarterback on this team, not because of injury to Andy Dalton, but because of competitiveness. C.J. Uzomah got a nice contract to stay there. What are your thoughts on the situation in Cincinnati at tight end?
Well, they had to give a new contract to C.J. Uzomah to back up Eifert, because Eifert has a history of being injured, and it is what it is. That developed Tyler Kroft, and you see Tyler Kroft was able to get signed off in Buffalo. This is a situation where it's going to happen. You just don't know when, so you just got to kind of hold your breath. You just kind of be prepared if Tyler Eifert's your guy, but I don't see how you can make him your guy with that situation there. And let me tell you why. C.J. Uzomah, they signed. They saw something in him, and they know that he can take some of that workload. And this 2 tight end thing is not going away. This run-pass option, this RPO, it's not going away. The multiple running backs by committee, this is not going away. What you need to do is put yourself between the lines and find out what's really happening and who's really going to separate themselves. The guy that's going to separate himself in the future is Drew Sample. Drew Sample's the dynasty rookie that you want to take tight end at the very end of your rookie dynasty draft. Don't draft any one of these guys, even Eifert, for your redraft league. But if you have to take one of them, Eifert's the guy to take, and cross your fingers he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, and again, Eifert's good for a few weeks, but then he makes you nervous. So it's just kind of take with caution, proceed with caution. There's one that I like more than his situation, and that's in Cleveland. David Njoku, I liked him out of Miami. He was drafted in 2017 in the first round, pick number 29. Last season, he had 56 catches, was targeted 88 times, had over 600 yards receiving, and 4 touchdowns. I like David Njoku. I like Evan Engram. I like them on that line, because I spoke highly of both of them as rookies right here on the show, and Mike and I were discussing it. And Njoku's a guy that I like more than Engram, because I like Baker Mayfield more than I like Eli Manning. So what's your thought on the Cleveland Browns situation?
Yeah, I like Njoku. I don't know how you can not like him. He's a top 10 product, number 9 on my redraft rankings. In a dynasty startup, you probably want to look at him as a top 10 player as well. Not top 10 player, top 10 tight end, I should say. But, I think Cleveland's an exciting team. I'm excited for Baker Mayfield. I'm excited for the revamped running attack. I'm excited for the revamped offense in general. Bringing in Odell is going to be huge. You're going to see that elevate a lot of other guys around him. Jarvis Landry's going to take a step up. Everybody's like, oh, Odell's going to get all the looks. No, he's not. He's going to get all the two-man coverage. That's going to open everything up, and especially near the red zone for a guy like David Njoku. Why not? If you can go ahead and take Njoku, and he's a top 10 tight end, if you can't get one of the top one or two, that's a guy who's completely serviceable and can help you get to your fantasy championship and not hurt you. He doesn't have a history of being injured, but if he does, look for Demetrius Harris to step up. He has some tutelage under Travis Kelce in the Kansas City Chiefs organization. Yeah. And Seth DeVal didn't do a bad job stepping in when he needed to in this pass as well. But it's all David Njoku.
Yeah, they do have a 2 tight end set. And we know that they're going to be running the ball and having some success there. I think Seth DeValve might have a couple touchdowns, a couple moments, but David Njoku is the guy there. Pittsburgh, Vance McDonald, he's been in the league for 6 years, and we're looking at, the fact that it's not Jesse James and him anymore, which was causing some frustration with fantasy owners last year, is who was going to get the ball when when Ben Roethlisberger was going out to the tight end. When Big Ben struck that clock at the tight end's number, which number was he choosing? Well, now it's Vance by himself. He has Xavier Grimble behind him, who's been around for 4 seasons. But, I would expect Vance here to be the guy, 50 catches, 72 targets last season, 610 yards, 4 touchdowns. What are your thoughts on Vance McDonald? I mean, he's not the every week guy, but he could be a guy they lean on a little bit more. And with Juju Smith-Schuster now becoming the main guy, and the Steelers looking for somebody else to become that number 2, maybe they're going to lean a little bit more on the tight end of Vance McDonald. So what are your thoughts on the situation?
Yeah, I think Vance McDonald finally had a breakout year. I mean, who can forget that play down the sidelines where he just juked a guy? He was all over the NFL morning shows and ESPN. This is a guy whose outstanding athleticism and ability as a receiver has kept him around through injuries over the years. This is a guy who was at San Francisco. San Francisco brought in George Kittle, and they said, thank you very much. Pittsburgh thought Jesse James was the guy. Jesse James was just a blocker when he was splitting time with Vance McDonald. Vance McDonald had a coming out party, was able to make some big plays, get himself visible, and then that gets you to a more of a comfort level with your quarterback who's a stubborn mule in Ben Roethlisberger. Look, they're going to be able to sling the ball around, but they got some newness there. Newness that's kind of familiar with a James Conner and a Juju Smith-Schuster. Gone, of course, are Le'Veon Bell, and gone, of course, are Antonio Brown. That's a lot of targets. That's a lot of time with the ball in your hands that they're giving to somebody else. Vance McDonald's going to get a bigger share of that. Therefore, he ranks as the number 11 tight end on my redraft.
Yeah, for me, I like Vance McDonald. I do think he's a low-end 1, high-end 2, and I think he's going to get some more action this year, which I'm excited about. So I think Vance is a good play to have, and I think that he's right there in that he's not in my top 5, but, in that top 10, top 15, he resides somewhere in that region. And I think he's a good pickup to have because I trust his quarterback, I trust the team, I trust the weapons on the team, and I trust the offensive line, which puts him in a really good situation. And his numbers aren't terrible. Stepping into our final piece, the AFC South with Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com, myself, Dan Tortora of WakeUpCallDT.com. You know the Disney point because you know who the cast members are. And right over here at the Charney's Menswear and Tuxedo Studios on 3150 Erie Boulevard East in Syracuse, New York. And we're going to do a little bit of this, and we're going to throw it because it's time to talk about the Houston Texans. And we know what people do in Texas. They lasso people for no reason. I don't know why they do it, Mike, but I always wanted to learn how to lasso. And my hopes one day is that you and I can do a video and we talk about snagging the right fantasy guide and we throw lassos and we catch each other to tell people that they need to snag us as their people. So that's something to look forward to the next time I come to Orlando.
Yeah, I don't know about this rope fetish you have all of a sudden, Dan, but if it's for the show and it's for the greater good, why not? I'm all in. Look, the Houston Texans don't have that one guy yet. They brought in Khalil Waring. Jordan Thomas is a guy who I thought was going to be somebody. And then they brought in Jordan Akins as well. Jordan Akins. There's no T in there. It's not a diet. at UCF. I remember him well. Darren Fells as well. You're waiting for one of these guys to step up. I think it's going to be Waring, but I don't think you can roster any of these guys in a redraft format.
No, I mean, the Jordans, Jordan Thomas and Jordan Atkins, I mean, they're the two guys that are out there. But, you know, I feel better about lassoing Mike with a rope, even though I've never done it before in my life, than I do about lassoing either one of these two players. And the rope fetish, Mike, it's not a fetish, okay? If there's more than 5 people that like something, it can't be a fetish. So I'm going to find 4 other people that like ropes, and we're going to be fine. By the way, I did something really cool. None of what I just said made any sense, but if you say it fast enough, people think that it's real. But here's the thing. I did a Saved by the Bell prank just to see if it would work, and I did it twice in college to my friend Steve. I love you, Steve Stahl, and it worked. I took rope. Don't ask me where I got it from. For some reason, it was in my room because I'm always ready for the Walking Dead apocalypse. And I had rope, and Steve's door was diagonal to the janitor's closet, and I roped his door to the janitor's closet door, and he could not get out of his room, and every time he pulled his door open, it would slam shut. So I am very proud of my rope skills, but I've never tried the lasso before. What we can tell you is if you're lassoing any of the Houston Texans at tight end, you're probably not going to win the rodeo. The Indianapolis Colts, look at what I did there. Oh, my God, you'd think that I broadcasted before. The Indianapolis Colts have a 2 tight end situation. They have Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle, and if they're both out there, I feel good about both of these guys. Ebron has had a resurgence. He has life after leaving Detroit. That can't make Detroit Rock City feel good about anything. But Eric Ebron has been something to the Colts, and Jack Doyle, wow, has he been something special. He hasn't always been consistent, but he's been one of those tight ends that saved my butt in a bunch of games in the last couple of years. What do you think about the Colts situation?
Yeah, it's not going to be as much Jack Doyle as it's been in the past. You know, when they brought Eric Ebron in, don't forget, before it was Dwayne Allen and Jack Doyle. So Jack Doyle is going to be spotty at best. He's questionable to even start training camp with a recent hip surgery. Eric Ebron had a resurgence. They seem to know how to use the tight end in Indianapolis, and he seemed to have the skills. So it got 13 touchdowns last year. We've been waiting patiently for that out of Eric Ebron for years in Detroit. He goes to Indianapolis, and it finally happens. You know, Eric Ebron is worthy of almost top 5. He's top 10. He's number 6 on my redraft. I don't think you can draft Doyle, but maybe you can. He's number 16 on my ranking. That's a borderline for me for a second tight end. I'm not sure I want a second tight end that bad. And if I'm in a dynasty situation or if I'm in a keeper league, there's probably a guy floating around out there that no one has rostered. And if you have a deep bench, consider bringing on a Mo Alley Cox. I think that, and we've talked about him, and in years past, I did a combo article on him with George Kittle.
Yeah.
At VCU, 6'6", 267. They're developing him as a receiver from the tight end position. This guy is a beast. He didn't stay around 3 years in the NFL and not play because he doesn't have the tools or the ability. It took time for some of these guys to go from basketball to football. Some of them will move a little bit faster. Julius Thomas moves a little faster. And Antonio Gates moved a little faster. A lot of these guys have a bigger move and they can make a splash right away. This is not the case here, but it's going to happen very soon. Keep your eyes out for Mo Alley Cox out of Indianapolis. Again, don't draft him. Not sure you want to roster him. Keep an eye on him. Keep an eye close to the waiver wire if you need to. If Jack Doyle doesn't start the season, has a setback, they're going to be using him more in these 2 tight end sets. He just needs to prove himself on the field and have a breakout year like Vance McDonald. And it can happen to a Mo Alley Cox this year.
It's funny that you mentioned, because I was hoping you would mention Mo Alley Cox, because we seem to be united in brain with a lot of this fantasy stuff. And, you know, Mo Alley Cox to me is somebody that, you know, I would just watch on the waiver wire leaving free agency, but for now, but he's a guy that I think can be something. And in a 2 tight end set, he can step up, and he did step up last season, got himself a couple touchdowns. So I like Mo Alley Cox, and I'm happy that you mentioned him, and I love the name as well. I would say about Eric Ebron, he had more touchdowns last season than he had in his first 4 seasons in the NFL combined. He had 11 touchdowns over 4 seasons. He had 13 last year. That has to do with Andrew Luck being healthy. It also has to do with a change of scenery. He was still wearing blue and white. It was just a different blue. and it was a different team and a different feel and a lot of success. So, for Eric Ebron, I think this is great. I think it makes him draftable again. I like him over other situations. I like him over an Evan Engram even. And, I think that he's one of those guys that can make a splash because he showed that, he just, sometimes all you need is a little bit of a change of scenery. You get 1 touchdown, 5 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 4 touchdowns, then 13 in your first season with Indy. It's a pretty nice feel to it. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Jeff Swaim, I brought him up. That guy that tried to take over for Jason Witten. The 4 guys in Dallas couldn't make up for Jason Witten being gone. Jeff Swaim was one of them. James O'Shaughnessy's back. I would venture to say that they're going to have Ben Koyak back again, but he's pretty pissed off. He did not like the situation last year in Jacksonville. When we were doing the interview, I felt it. He didn't like the fact that they brought in 2 new guys and let him go. It was like, what was I worth? I made this run with you all the way to almost the Super Bowl, and then you bring in a couple guys here, and I don't matter anymore. And I could feel that when we had that discussion, like, hey, I'm back on the team, but I don't really know what I did or what I did wrong to not be on the team. And I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he stepped up. I think he did a good job. And O'Shaughnessy and Ben Koyak have been their best options over the past few years outside of Mercedes Lewis, who's not there anymore. So Jeff Swaim and Josh Oliver was drafted. I would say that Josh Oliver is going to be the wide receiver tight end feel to it. I don't know what Swaim's going to bring to the game because they have a new quarterback in Nick Foles. James O'Shaughnessy, he's been used here and there. Koyak's been used here and there. But really, the tight end in Jacksonville hasn't been utilized that much, which is funny with a team that leans on defense and leans on running the ball, that they're not leaning on their tight end, as we talked about Detroit and Matt Patricia doing. So I'm confused as to why they haven't committed to that. But I would venture to say Josh Oliver was drafted high for a reason. But I do think that Jeff Swaim is going to get an opportunity. I just don't feel like any of this is draftable right now.
Well, Jacksonville knows what they want. They have a type that they're looking for. And what I mean by that is, like, I could say you're in a dating pool and usually date, people that have blonde hair or dark hair or whatever, tall, thin, whatever. Jacksonville has their type here. They like guys that are around 6'4", 250 or so, because just about all the guys on the roster are the same. Now, this is what I find incredible. Jeff Swaim, who finally showed up in Dallas, he puts up a stat line of 26 receptions on 32 targets for 242 yards and 1 touchdown. What does Jacksonville do? 2 years, $10 million. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So they brought him in. He's listed at number 1 on my depth chart with them right now, but I got a secret depth chart that they don't know I have. I got the real depth chart. Let me tell you, it's going to be Josh Oliver. Josh Oliver is going to be the guy you're going to want to keep your eye on. Now, to start the season, it's going to be James O'Shaughnessy, just at a comfort level. But they didn't bring Josh Oliver in from San Jose State because they like where he went to school, and that school always produces NFL talent. No, it doesn't. A lot of people didn't even know San Jose had a college there, San Jose State. Josh Oliver is going to be your guy further down the road. He's the guy to take a late chance on in a dynasty rookie. None of these guys are draftable or rosterable in a redraft, though.
Yeah, I mean, this situation for me, in all honesty, is kind of clear. And that's the fact that, again, I just don't think it's draftable right now. I don't think that it's something that you should dig your teeth into and really believe anything is going to happen with. I think it's something to watch. I think it's something you could pick up. I think it's something that can develop. I think it will develop. I think I'll be there on site to see it develop, God willing. But for right now, I'd stay away from it. Tennessee Titans have Delanie Walker. He's the guy. He didn't play much last year because he got hurt. So Delanie is the only thing in Tennessee on offense that's been consistently good. Marcus Mariota? No. Derrick Henry? He's had some good moments, but he hasn't been clearly all the time that way. Adam Humphries is new. Tajay Sharps have been up and down. Tywan Taylor's been up and down. Corey Davis has been up and down and injured. This team has been wildly inconsistent, but the good stuff, it's come from Delanie Walker. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think Delanie Walker is old. He's like 35 years old, but he could still play, or at least he looked like he could play before the injury. Look, this is a guy who I think can continue to get looks, can continue to convert. He's number 13 on my ranking. He's number 13 for a reason. I think he can still get it done. Jonnu Smith stepped up. Let's not forget, Delaney Walker was basically out all of last year with the injury. Jonnu Smith comes in through 15 games. He has like 3 touchdowns, like 250 yards. So while he was visible and a presence, they shifted the game away from what Delaney Walker was used to doing, and they tried to go with that 1-2 combo with the running back with Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis, and we thought it was going to be one or the other. Well, sure enough, it was. By year's end, it was more Derrick Henry, and that looks like the attacks are going to go on. They brought in some new pieces, and then Anthony Firkser, and they've also brought in A.J. Brown. Adam Humphries is new to the team. So, look, there's a lot of ball to spread around. Don't draft any of these guys except Delaney Walker for your number 13 on my redraft list.
And Delaney Walker did this to Mike. He froze him. So Delaney Walker, again, he's it's coming off of an injury and a little confused. I'm a little suspect of it right now. I like him, but I'm not sold on Marcus Mariota or Ryan Tannehill. So it's a situation I'd stay away from if you can, even though he is very talented. With that being said, Mike, I will do this for you and make myself freeze for a second. I hope that you have a phenomenal day. Go to HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. Mike, tight end conversation. We hit all 32 teams, more tight ends than anybody has probably ever talked about on a show, and I'm okay with that. So, as always, Mike, I appreciate you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right, talk to you next time, Dan. Thanks.
Take care. So, with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as we finish up today's show and today in this piece of today's show in the tight end conversation, I want to thank Mike Sofka once again for being a part of it. HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. You've been watching inside of the Charney's Men's Wear and Tuxedo Studios. We appreciate you being here. We thank all of our partners, and we thank you for listening in. This has been Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are off for the 4th of July. We're taking a vacation as you are taking a vacation. So go enjoy the fireworks, festivities, hot dogs, coonies, hamburgers, and have a great time. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the holiday. Celebrate independence. Remember this, folks. It's not just a day off from work. It's not just a day where you can go hang out with the family. It's not just a day where you can drink more beer than you normally do and drink responsibly. The 4th of July is a celebration of our independence. And there are so many people in this world that are not free. There are people in this country that don't feel free. So honor, appreciate, and focus a thank you to God, a thank you to the men and women that came before us that fought for this freedom. Do not forget. We said that when 9/11 happened, we will never forget, and a lot of us did. Do not forget what happened on 9/11. Do not forget what happened when we became a free country. And do not forget that there are people in this country that still don't feel free, and they are not free, and we need to give every fiber of our being until every single person feels free and knows that they're free. Because freedom is not given by man. Freedom was given by God, taken away by man, and then given back by man to some. But freedom is not a human thing. It's a God-given right. It's something that he gave to us that we had no right to take it away from each other. So celebrate your freedom, love your freedom, appreciate the fact that we live in a country where you can do whatever you want. You know, I mean, you can go outside and you can cook your own stuff, and you can buy this, and you can go there and go there. We live in a country that is so free that we don't even realize what life is to not have a little bit of freedom. Somebody takes your cell phone away and you don't feel free. You feel like you're a slave. Well, that's not even close. Ask a slave, ask an ancestor, or ask a descendant, I should say, of someone who's gone through slavery or gone through women's rights. Ask somebody who is Hispanic. Ask somebody who is homosexual what it's like to not feel free. So the 4th of July is not just a day to make hot dogs and hamburgers. It's not just a day to blow off fireworks and piss off your neighbors. It's a day to remember that there was something that God gave us that somebody took away, that we reestablished by giving up lives to do it. So not just on the 4th of July, but every day, wake up and thank God for being free. And if you're not free, pray that you will be. And know that I'm one of those people that would love to be on this planet when every single one of us finally gets to enjoy the beauty, the positivity, and the responsibility of being free. Because unfortunately, it didn't come free. With that being said, thank you so much for listening into today's show, the tight end conversation of all 32 teams with Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. And before that, the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team conversation with Lawrence Papaleo. I appreciate you. I thank you. God bless you. And we will be back on Friday morning with the Annoying Moment of the Week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt, Significant Soundbites, special key interview of the week, and FML Friday Morning Live. And we'll be on video right here on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and we'll be on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT for audio, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. God bless, be well, and have yourselves a tremendous day today, and a very happy, healthy, special, and beautiful 4th of July. And happy 4th of July, not just to America, but to the Philippines, who also celebrate the 4th as their day of independence. For all of you that aren't free, I'm listening. And I pray, and I'll do what I can to make sure that there's a day where we are all free. I hope you have a great 4th of July. And I hope you remember the importance and the beauty and the significance of being a free person. And that you remember that we aren't all treated that way today, and we weren't all treated that way in history. And we can change that by loving each other. That's all it takes. Love changes the world. And love will always defeat hate, in my opinion. So, remember to be good to each other. And I'll talk with you soon. I'll see you, and you'll hear from me on Friday. In the meantime, come out and play trivia tonight, Wednesday, and every Wednesday, July 3rd today at 7 p.m., and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. at Dominic's Restaurant on 1370 Burnett Ave in Syracuse, New York. We'll see you then.